was the warrior on this coin? And why was he honored with his image on the Mexican 5 pesos coins in the 1940s? And why is the Golden State Mint still producing silver rounds adorned with his image? Are these coins or rounds worth adding to your stack? In today's episode, I'll attempt to answer all these questions and more. T. Hello, silver fans. This is T, and you're in the place to be for silver education, acquisition, and entertainment. Hey, before we get into it, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. Okay, this is a silver round created by the Golden State Mint, and it depicts what they call the Aztec Calendar, but what it really is the Aztec Sunstone. Now, the real Sunstone can be found at the National Museum of History in Mexico City. I've been there, I've seen it, and it is something to behold. It's just absolutely amazing that something that big and detailed and incredible was made by human hand. If you happen to be anywhere near or visit the city of Chicago, in Chicago at the Field Museum of Natural History, there is a replica of the Sunstone, and I certainly encourage you to check that out if you haven't already. It is amazing to see that in real life and appreciate the size and the magnitude of this stone carving. Now, on the other side of this round, you can find Kwatamak, and I'll talk about Kwatamak in just a moment. Now, let's talk about the original, Golden State Mint. Got their inspiration from this particular coin here. Let's start by talking about the Obverse, and it might sound a little funny. We typically think of the Obverse as the head side of the coin, but in this case, this particular coin, and the Libertad is similar. The Mexican coat of arms is actually the Obverse, aka the front of the coin. It says Estados Unidos Mexicanos, and as you could see, that iconic coat of arms that includes the eagle perched on a cactus, eating a snake that we're all familiar with. So let's talk about the stats. This particular coin was minted in 1947 and 1948, and this one is out of my collection from my old coin collecting days, and I dug it out just so I could talk about it a little bit today. And this may be, and we'll talk about this towards the end, a suitable coin for stacking. It is 90% silver, so this is a nice big old Mexican coin. 0.87 troy ounces of silver contained here. It's 40 millimeters, which is slightly smaller than American Silver Eagle by about half a millimeter. And the mintage, 1947, the mintage was 5 million. In 1948, the mintage was 27 million. So the 47 is about 5 times more rare than the 48. So if you have the opportunity to snatch these up in quantity, be on the lookout for the 47s. Now, that's the obverse. How about the reverse? Here we go. This is Kwatamak. And way back in 1947, the Mexican Mint decided to give a nod to Mexico's indigenous peoples and its history by including Kwatamak on the reverse of this particular 5 pesos coin. And as you could see towards the bottom there, it does say 0.900, 0.900. Oh, wow. So this is a 90%er, and I just realized this is one of the more rare 1947s. Very nice. No wonder why I added that to my collection years ago. So who was Kwatamak? Well, Kwatamak was the last emperor of the mighty Aztec Empire. And I have a particular affinity for Mexican history, and I've done a little reading on the subject, and I very much enjoy reading history. So back to Kwatamak. He went toe-to-toe with the conquering Spaniard Hernan Cortés at Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City. That was the heart of the Aztec Empire. That was their great city. And they engaged in bloody battles, and both sides fought with great bravery and heart. And it is true that the Spaniards' weaponry was superior. But one of the tactics used by Cortés was that he was smart enough to turn the Aztecs' enemies against them. Many of the tribes around that had been persecuted by the Aztecs and taxed greatly and were forced to stay loyal to the Aztecs if they wanted to keep their hearts intact in their chests. They fall for Cortez's trickery and false promises, and they teamed up with the Spaniards to attack the dominating peoples, the Aztec Empire. But what really won Tenochtitlan and the Aztec Empire, the heart of the Aztec Empire, wasn't so much the weaponry or the warriors the Spaniards were able to acquire to join them in their quest. It was something much different than that. It was smallpox, disease. The city was ravaged, and the Mexican or the Aztec warriors and army was weakened by disease to the point where they eventually fell. But even in defeat, Cortés exhibited great respect for Kwatamak. His reverence didn't last forever, though. Eventually, years later, after the battles, Cortés did put Kwatamak to death by hanging. And just since we're talking a little bit of history here, I guess I will add a side note that some people feel that a small group of Spaniards who raped and pillaged their way through Mexico were great conquerors. I'd go back to what I was starting to mention earlier. I'd say that they were great spreaders of disease, which spread viciously and spread fast, killing the majority of Mexico's indigenous population at the time, from 1520 onward. Most often when the Spaniards arrived, as they roamed the land at a village or a town, it had long been abandoned, or the inhabitants had all died off from the disease spread in advance of the Europeans. Oftentimes, the jungle and the land had already begun taking back over the towns and villages prior to the Spaniards' arrival. Now, to this day, Kwatamak is revered by the Mexican people. Obviously, they thought enough of him to adorn their Cinco Pesos coin back in the 1940s. But in addition to that, there are many towns and buildings and statues all dedicated to the last of the great Aztec emperors, Kwatamak. So the big question is, are these worth stacking? Well, I would say, particularly if you watched my previous video called The Beginner's Guide to Silver Stacking, you know that as I make my decisions regarding stacking, a lot of what goes into my decision making is the premium. I bought this one years ago. Honestly, I don't even know how much I paid for it. This one here, I overpaid. This is a silver round, but I had one of those moments where I saw something that I thought was cool, and I decided to purchase it. And Definitely paid a little more for it than I should have. I didn't go crazy, but I at least a couple dollars more than I should have paid for it. Considering it's just round, and as I take a closer look, it's already milk spotted. So my advice to you with the, I would purchase those again only if the price was a little closer to spot. Now, when it comes to these, for a 90% coin, and if you do the math, and just remember, it's about 0.87 of an ounce. So don't go and buy this at the same price that you would buy an ounce coin, I don't think. You'd have to take that into consideration if you're making the purchase for stacking purposes. Now, if you're collecting, no, that's a whole different story. You'll have to make your own decisions based on the year, the state of the coin, and what condition it's in. And but since this is a stacking channel, I would say I would purchase these if the price is right and you can get them somewhere near spot price. I wouldn't go, making these Cinco Pesos Kwatamak coins the base of my stack. But nonetheless, there are bargains to be had here and there, and if you can find these for a decent price, I'd say snatch them up. They're cool coins to look at too. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and if you made it to this point, thank you. I know I added a lot more history in this video than I normally do, but I hope you enjoyed it, and so I will leave you one more time with my wish for you. May your premiums be low and your stacks be high. T.